What is going on, everyone? Anthony here, and today I will be talking about the 5 essential things for the Resident Evil 4 remake that will make this one the best remake yet. Number 5. Bring on the horror. The survival horror elements started to dip out on the original Resident Evil 4 back in 2005. This is a chance to bring this back full swing. We may get an even darker and a more murky Resident Evil 4. Or so the fans hope so. This has much more potential, in my opinion, to be even darker than Resident Evil Village. Something more in the vein of Resident Evil 3.5. The amount of horror that is in the original Resident Evil 4 works really well when it's there. The Regenerators is the perfect example of this. They can keep it really refreshing and add more layers to the villains, like the Big Cheese, Salazar, and Krauser, and let's not forget Sadler. These fights can be a lot more grand in scale with the RE engine. We know this, and it already looks beautiful. The actual press release from Capcom actually states that the now reimagined tale of survival horror in the face of overwhelming terror returns to deliver a visually stunning modern gaming experience that is true to the promise of the original release. Many team members from the productions of the 2019's top-selling and critically acclaimed Resident Evil 2 remake also make their return to delve deeper into the essence of Resident Evil 4. Fans and newcomers alike can reveal in both the new and familiar, as RE Engine heightens the original creative direction to tell a story that is darker and even more unsettling. And that is from Capcom themselves on the press release. And of course, there will be action in Resident Evil 4 Remake, just like in the original, and I do enjoy bits of the action for sure, but seeing some more horror layers would be awesome. Number 4. The Merchant. With the Duke being in Resident Evil Village, who was inspired directly from the Merchant in the original Resident Evil 4, we know our friend will be here to sell us all the goodies we need to get through the nightmare. We haven't seen him yet. Capcom is probably savoring him for a later time. The Merchant sparked that action side of the game, but in a good way, spicing up the variety, giving you gun options with upgrades, various weapons, and even the weapon cases for item management, which definitely will return as they did in Village. And we got the Red 9 back, baby! I'm so stoked! All of these features did make RE4 unique at the time and added a fun addition to the game. I always liked going back and getting everything unlocked, especially the Chicago typewriter. I would also like to see them bring back medallions for free weapons along with treasure maps to make all the money you possibly can for our boy, the Merchant. Stranger, stranger. Now that's a weapon. Number 3. Jack Krauser developed. I've always liked Jack Krauser in terms of his design, and I do like the fight scenes with him leading all the way up to the rooftop. But besides Darkside Chronicles, leaving that aside, he just shows up out of nowhere in the original Resident Evil 4, and he just knows Leon as soon as they make contact during the knife fight. Us, as the player, was like, who the fuck is that? Sure, Darkside Chronicles tied in the origin story of when they were on Operation Javier, which is in 2002 in the timeline. But that was released a few years after the release of Resident Evil 4. They should establish him a little bit more and show how he got involved with Sadler, maybe helped in the kidnapping of Ashley, or if he's even involved in that process at all. It can easily be changed in the remake. Most people that may just have played 4 back in the day and never played Darkside Chronicles will be a little confused if Leon just acts like they have history. It could be a flashback scene, it could be a cutscene. Of course, Jack Krauser doesn't need his whole Operation Javier scenario in this game, but I'm mostly saying I would just like to see a little bit more explained, especially for people that are playing it for the first time and have never played the spin-offs. Number 2. More love for Ada Wong. I always wanted more Ada Wong in Resident Evil 4 in the main story. She did have her own modes as unlockables in the original ports. The PS2 was actually when it started to be added on to the game. The original GameCube cut did not have separate ways at all, just Simon Ada. Separate Ways specifically has Ada's story interwoven with Leon's side and shows her perspective, which was a great addition to the story. It doesn't have to constantly rotate between the two characters here, but it would be really cool to see some more of Ada's perspective in the main story. They could always switch over to Ada's side when Leon is injured after the Del Lago fight, for example, and he's out for hours. We could always go to see what Ada's up to in the other side of the village. That kind of thing. I would really like them to expand on Leon and Ada, having it where it really feels connected to the events that left Leon damaged, not only from the events of Raccoon City, but specifically the death of Ada on his conscience. We all know she's coming back. Number 1. A serious side of Leon Scott Kennedy. The way Leon was portrayed in Resident Evil 2 Remake was perfect. They really got him down as the rookie cop who was new to dealing with these situations and these disasters. It is clear in the trailer that he is damaged from the events of Raccoon City and losing Ada, not being able to save her, or so he thought. But I think this will be a different Leon. More than just the one-liner snappy Leon in the original. I do love all renditions that we have gotten, but this is following what we got in Resident Evil 2 Remake. You have to remember that. I think this might be a more serious and emotional spin this time around for Leon, and giving the vibes from the trailer and how this mission really weighs on him as the president's daughter is at stake, he doesn't want to be responsible for losing another life. I'm sure he will still be all government trained out, which will be cool, and we'll see a physical side of Leon, and of course, I'm sure we'll even get some snappy remarks from Leon, because that is the essence of his character. You don't want to lose the essence of the Leon character. You don't want to make him too dark and moping around, but we've seen Leon fall before as far as breaking as a character. Vendetta is the perfect example of this. Look at Leon's jacket. Look familiar? It looks like it's red out of 3.5. Not sure if this was intentional or not, but we notice as fans and it looks badass either way. So what are some essential things you want to see in the Resident Evil 4 Remake? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. And stay tuned for next week where I cover 5 more essentials as the road for Resident Evil 4 Remake continues. A big shout out to everyone that supports me on Patreon and YouTube memberships. YouTube members grants you access to voting on content with custom badges and emojis for chats. Patreon gives you the same voting privilege, but even more. Gain access to uncut recording sessions, weekly exclusive Patreon shows, and live hangouts on Patreon. Tiers start at just $1. Thank you so much for your support, and I will catch you next time.